We're not talking about Crown Jewel. We're not talking about Crown Jewel at all. We're actually talking about another October pay-per-view in place of it because fuck the Crown Jewel pay-per-view and Roman Reigns and Logan Paul. Here we are, No Mercy 2000. This is the show that our lovely viewers voted in. And what did you think?
I thought it was all right. A lot of this, obviously it's 2000. We're still knee deep in the Attitude Era. WWF is about to destroy WCW in the upcoming year, like very soon. I still can't believe not only that it's been 22 years, but also I can't believe they bought WCW and did that whole Vince and Shane thing. The go home Raw to WrestleMania.
Yep.
They had the biggest and most stacked pay-per-view. We've talked about WrestleMania 17 before. We talked about how that's like people consider it to be the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time.
It is.
They had this stacked card. They had, some of the biggest feuds going on. And then right before WrestleMania, they dropped that bombshell on us that
WCW out of business. Yep.
So this is, we do these retros like kind of out of order sometimes. And we already talked about Mania 17. We already talked about Armageddon 2000 with the 6-man Hell in a Cell. But we are starting to get into the build-up here because a lot of those pieces going into that Hell in a Cell were on the show. We're going to talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin. We're going to talk about a freshly turned heel Rikishi that we're going to talk about a lot on the show. Of course, you got Rock. First, you got Angle. No Undertaker on this pay-per-view. No Kane on this pay-per-view.
We do have Triple H as well, who was a very rare babyface Hunter Hearst Helmsley sighting in the Attitude Era as well, which is interesting because I did not remember this happening. But in any regard, Tomas, this pay-per-view takes place from the Pepsi Arena in Albany, New York. A great sponsor, if you ask me. Also, perhaps
we're not sponsored, I swear.
No, we're not. Pepsi, this is a free advertisement for Pepsi. You're welcome. But yeah, Albany, New York is where this pay-per-view takes place. This is also the site of Royal Rumble 2002, or not 2002, 1992 rather. I was thinking ahead. Yeah, this is the building where Ric Flair won his first WWF title. Also, spoiler alert, the building where another one of our favorite wrestlers wins his first WWF championship as well, as we'll get into. But this video package very much focused on the Stone Cold Steve Austin being run down angle. And lo and behold, it was revealed to be Rikishi, who did it for The Rock, who did it for the people. He did it.
You go back in history, one of the most intriguing storylines of all time with one of the weakest payoffs. I remember hearing about all the different rumors of who it could have been. It could have been Triple H. It could have been The Undertaker. And, back then, just to have it be Rikishi, who's known just for being this silly goofball babyface, slaps his ass, rubs his ass in people's faces.
Yeah.
He's teaming with Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, who we will be talking about very shortly on the show. Yes. And just to have him turn around and be, the guy that tried to kill Stone Cold Steve Austin. And, kayfabe-wise, obviously we knew that Austin had a injury that he had to, take some time off for, which led into deadly games. And,
his neck was a stack of dimes, son.
Basically, yeah. Yep. So that was kind of the culmination of that feud. And we're going to have a lot of opinions on how we felt about this payoff and where we felt this angle should have went.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts about it. I don't know if I should get into it now just to bury the lead or if I should
We'll save it all for Austin and Rikishi, because Rikishi and Austin really isn't even a match. It's a brawl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a total brawl for sure.
We got some undercard stuff.
Logic is out the window. Oh yes, yeah, a lot of undercard.
How I feel about Attitude Era. You know how I feel about Attitude Era undercard. So there's gonna be some good and some what the fuck.
Oh yeah. The pyro, of course, goes off, and we cut to the arena. It's a really fun little set right here of like curtain drapes with projections of Stone Cold getting run down on the actual set there, which I thought was a really cool touch. No Mercy logo splattered all over it. The old school No Mercy logo, the best one in my opinion.
How don't you feel like it was a little too soon that, throughout this show we got the No Mercy logo, especially during like replays and matches? doing a car sound effect when Austin got ran over by a car leading into his match with Rikishi.
I mean, that's the theme. That's the theme of the show, though. It's all centered around Stone Cold getting run over by Rikishi, and this is the whole payoff.
They were on the nose with that shit.
You don't say. You don't say. But we actually start off with a different kind of stipulation match, my friend. It is a Dudley Boyz Invitational. This is basically a gauntlet match in tables match form. There's 5 teams. 2 teams start, and once one team is put through a table, another team enters. It's basically like tag team turmoil for all intents and purposes.
All tables matches. That's how you get elimination.
Dudleyized is the best way I could put it. But your big problem with this match was what, Tomas?
So we start off this match with Too Cool, who we just talked about, Scotty Too Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay, aka Brian Christopher, aka Jerry the King Lawler's son.
Rest
we
in
haven't
peace.
really talked about him on this pod, but exactly, yeah. Christopher was kind of in like the early 90s, I want to say. He was billed as Jerry Lawler's son. They really put this guy over as being the next star. That didn't really pan out for him. And when Christopher turned into Grandmaster Sexay, that, you know, almost put Jerry Lawler in a coma because he was just absolutely, what are you doing? You're turning yourself into a joke. You're dancing around with Scotty Too Hottie. But that was a new gimmick now. Obviously, they're broken off from Rikishi, who has turned heel. And they're taking on the randomest tag team I have ever seen in my life. Like, it's Lowdown, Chaz and D'Lo Brown.
Hold on. At least this fucking team had a name, so you cannot say that this is the randomest tag team you've ever seen in your life.
It's a tag team. It's a tag team that I honestly had never heard of until I saw this show.
Lowdown?
And yeah, my biggest issue with this...
I know who Lowdown was, of course, yeah, because I watched Royal Rumble 2001, and Lowdown were known as the team that was replaced by Drew Carey in the Royal Rumble match. Not a good thing to be known for.
My biggest issue with this match is if it's the Dudley Boyz Invitational Tag Team Table match, why aren't the Dudley Boyz starting this match off? If the Dudley Boyz want to put every single tag team through a table, They should be out there number one. They should be running the gauntlet. If I'm one of these tag teams, I got to be thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? The Dudleys are the ones that wanted to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see later on in the show, Christian and Edge even fake a stomach virus to get out of this match because, again, if the Dudleys wanted, it reminds me of, or should I say, we talked about this at No Mercy 2003, the Barroom Brawl with the APA, the Invitational.
Yes.
The APA wanted to kick everyone's ass. So the APA were there at the beginning of the match and they whooped everyone's ass. If the Dudley Boyz want to prove that, it just makes no sense that they are not the ones starting off this match.
Well, you also got to remember, number one, that Vince McMahon booked this show, so not a lot of things are going to make a lot of sense except for the big stuff. But in any regard, yeah, I totally agree with you. This would have been like what would have happened if in that Barroom Brawl Invitational, the APA invited everybody over to their bar so they could kick a lot of ass, and the APA just no-showed the party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or they waited until everybody was knocked out except for 2 other people, including a drunken Funaki, and then they just showed up, punched somebody in the face and said, I won!
We won! Yeah, that would have put them over his heels, you know? But Dudley Boyz, total baby faces. But we start off with Too Cool, who is very over baby faces. And yes, Lowdown. I will agree with you, Tomas, that is a very random-ass tag team. D'Lo Brown and Chaz. Chaz, formerly known as Headbanger Mosh, by the way, which is interesting.
So you took someone from a well-established tag team and threw them into this tag team.
Yeah, you took someone from an established tag team and threw them into a tag team with another person who is an established tag team wrestler with the Nation of Domination. Makes sense.
Exactly. It's like...
Makes sense.
You know, we've talked about D'Lo Brown enough in the show. I don't think this man has gotten enough love. I feel like he was never given the opportunity he deserved. Like, this guy was fucking sweet.
He was so... The crowd chanted, D'Lo sucks at him. And I'm like, no, I disagree. He does not suck. He is great. He is
like,
really
first of all, his theme song's a fucking banger. I used to get down with that shit when I was a kid. I love that shit. Even like later on, he had like a little comeback in 2008, if anybody even remembers that. And he wrestled like 2 matches with Santino Marella. I remember marking the fuck out when I saw that D'Lo Brown was back in WWE. And they gave him 2 matches with Santino Marella, one that he lost, and then he was gone like 6 months later. I don't get it. And I don't think he fared that much better in TNA and, in the Aces and Eights or anything that they were doing with him. I know he's a backstage producer now, I think. I think he's still with TNA. He's a backstage producer. And that's a great wrestling mind to have back there, but missed opportunity. I feel like we could do a whole video on missed opportunities in wrestling. And D'Lo Brown's in there.
That'll be a special episode for later, yeah. But the sequence between the Lowdown and the Too Cool, nothing really special, I would say. Chaz was shoved off the top rope by Scotty, and Lowdown is gone.
I did think it was really cool that Scotty did the worm, like right before they put him to the table, just so he can get it off.
I did not like it. That's why I did not mention it, because the worm is fucking stupid. But anyway.
Come on. You mean to tell me when you were a kid and you were in the audience at a show and Scotty Swai did it, you didn't do the WORM. Ooh, 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 all that just for a downward chop.
That's
right. A chop to the throat. Not even. A chop to the chest.
And fucking Chaz had to wait for all of those theatrics to sell a fucking, like, a chop, like, to the chest. Like, come on.
It's crazy. You asked the question, what do The Rock, John Cena, and Scotty 2 Hotty all have in common? They're fucking waste of a setup moves. I don't care how iconic they are.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the other, clearly, in that
like, you could... The only difference is, and the only person that gets the exception is Otis, because at least the Caterpillar was a 300-pound man dropping the elbow on you. That hurts.
Yes.
Nothing hurts about The Rock taking 30 seconds just to drop an elbow on you, or John Cena taking 30 seconds to drop a fist on you, and half of the time the fist doesn't even connect with your head.
No, Scotty takes a full minute to hit that chop. Let's be realistic here. But yeah, no, 2 cool wins, 4-minute match between those two. Next out is actually the team of Taz, who, boy, he's really fallen down the white rabbit hole at this point in the year 2000. Taz is coming down the aisle with his tag team partner, the debuting Raven. Basically, their connection is that they're both ECW originals. That is it.
Vince loved, again, this is prior to the WCW buyout. This is part of the ECW buyout. Vince just loved taking these beloved stars from other promotions and just saying, fuck you, I'm going to do fuck all with them. We've talked about Raven and Taz before. We talked about how Taz came in a ring of fire, beating Kurt Angle on his first match, and then they did diddly dick with him. Absolutely diddly dick. And then unfortunately he broke his neck.
Except for when Taz won the ECW championship as a favor to ECW, so Mike Awesome did not take their belt over to WCW, Taz came in and, like, just completely cleaned house, and there's a hidden gem between him and Triple H on a SmackDown that's champion versus champion, non-title. But that was all they did with Taz until his injury.
They did. Exactly. They did diddly dick with him, and then unfortunately Taz sustained the neck injury, and as we know, now the more that you see it, you kind of have to understand why Taz is so pissed off in his old age. Like, he has every right to be.
With the soup bones and the banana juice, like.
I know everybody has like a commentary. He's a mixed bowl. He is a mixed bowl when it comes to him as commentary. But we're not talking about his commentary. We're talking about him and Raven basically going in there and doing whatever this is.
Can I just say also, poor fucking Raven. Like, this guy came in, let's see, Taz was in a feud with Jerry Lawler through the summer, which should tell you all you need to know about Taz's run there. And Raven actually helped Taz at the last pay-per-view, Unforgiven, beat Jerry Lawler in a strap match. And Raven got a big freaking bloody pop, by the way, because that pay-per-view is in Philadelphia. So
he did. And, since we're on this subject, I just feel like, unfortunately, guys like Raven, Taz, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, they were products of their environment. And, you take them out of that environment, and if they're not booked in that same environment, they weren't going to flourish. Not to say that they weren't fantastic workers, but, you talk about, like, Sandman's run in, like, 2007 with WWE. They wanted him to fucking wrestle. Sandman's not a wrestler.
He's not
going to go in there and do arm drags. He's there to whoop ass.
Raven is a storyteller. He's a storyteller.
Raven's a storyteller. Dreamer's a storyteller. Taz is a wrestling machine, but he was booked by a bitter hack Vince. He was saying, I'm going to punish you because you got famous somewhere else.
Now, how do you think all the NXT call-ups originally felt?
Yeah, and we wonder why we're going on this tangent now, because there's really nothing to talk about with this match. There's not a lot going on here.
This is the point where Grandmaster Sexay tries a sunset flip powerbomb on Raven to put him through the table. Grandmaster Sexay's feet completely whiff and break the table on the outside. The crowd proceeds to fucked up at him. And I'm like, well, by the by the logic of 2012, shouldn't have Grandmaster Sexay have been eliminated at that point?
Exactly. And then this is the sheer definition of, oh shit, we don't know what to do. We need to buy some time. So everybody just starts hitting each other on the outside.
Scotty hits
clearly see on their
fucking
faces.
Worm on Raven.
You see Taz just like, so he starts throwing haymakers at them, and he's thinking this is just by him buying time while he thinks of like, what the fuck do we do next? We kind of fucked up that spot.
And what's next is Taz and Raven suplex Scotty through a table, and bye Too Cool, you're out of here. This next sequence, rather, big ECW love party. Taz and Raven are up against the Dudley Boyz themselves, their namesake.
Yeah, the Dudley Boyz. The Dudley Boyz decided to join the party. So you mean to tell me they couldn't just start off taking out Lowdown, taking out Too Cool, taking out, Raven and Taz? Like, was it beyond anyone's imagination who was going to win this match?
No, not at all.
You really think Too Cool was going to win this match? So you might as well have just had the Dudleys like tear through the entire tag team division. If you want to call this a tag team division.
I mean, I don't want to say if you can call this a tag team division. It's not the worst I've ever seen it in WWF history, rather. The Dudley Boyz come in, they do the what's up drop on Raven. There's Devon hits a leg drop on Taz to eliminate him through a table. Not even a fucking 3D on Taz. Like, man, like, this treatment of Taz and Raven just makes me so mad, dude. Like, I can't.
Yeah, they really just threw these guys together because Vince didn't want to do anything with them. He had no intentions on putting world titles on these guys.
I'm flustered, absolutely flustered by this. It's hard for me to speak on this.
But
next up,
people talk about the praise of the Attitude Era. I feel like that came with its flaws, and that's a huge thing I'm going to get into when we get into one of these later matches. But
this crowd was hot. This crowd was into it.
I'm the number one sayer of this. The Attitude Era was not all rainbows and unicorn farts. Like there was some bad here, and there were some very terrible booking decisions.
What?
Just to
I don't think
protect
that's how the
big
saying
names. Well, that's how it goes next.
Yeah, I suppose so.
That's how you know we're not working with the script here, guys.
No. Here's a good part of the late Attitude Era, though. Right to Censor comes out. Bull Buchanan and the Good Father, they come out to fight the Dudley Boyz. There's a nice little sequences. Bull Buchanan clotheslines the fuck out of this referee. A match with no disqualifications getting a ref bump. That's going to be a pattern on this show.
But there was a reason for this, and this is not something I'm actually going to defend, because they do end up putting Goodfather. They end up putting Goodfather through the table.
No. It was Bull. It was
Buchanan.
Yeah, no, Bubba.
Yeah, so they do the famous top rope powerbomb.
Yes,
and
which
they
I
put
love.
Buchanan through the table, but then Goodfather grabs a steel chair, because apparently those are illegal in table matches. He clocks Bubba Ray Dudley over the head with the steel chair, and he flops. Flops on top of Buchanan.
You're being way too nice about this chair shot. He fucking murders Bubba Ray Dudley with this steel chair. Like, my word. Like, so completely unprotected chair shot to the head.
Yeah, Bubba Bully, whatever you want to call him. He flops onto Buchanan, and they, Right to Censor, actually have a brilliant idea. Goodfather pulls Buchanan off, and he basically gets the referee up to make it look like that Bubba went through the table. The referee calls for the bell. It looks like Right to Censor has won this match, but in a rare moment of continuity, another referee runs out and says, hey, I call bullshit. I saw exactly what happened. Bubba didn't go through the table. Buchanan did. Restart the match. So the match immediately gets restarted. They brawl for like a minute or so, and then Dudley Death Drop, the coolest fucking tag team finisher of all time, through the table. Dudley's win. Was there any other, I do think it would have been a nice swerve if Right to Censor got away with what they did here, but you send the crowd home happy. It's the opener.
It is the opener, yeah. You're meant
Right to Censor.
You're meant to make the crowd fired up for this show. You know what I mean?
Right to Censor is going to be all over the show. So,
man, and that fucking theme song too. Good Father, yes. To your point, attempts the no train, and then 3D through the table. Dudley Boyz win. This match is hard to rate, dude, because it's like 4 different, very, very short heat matches.
It was all right. Yeah, it was all right. I'll give it a 2. Even though I sounded a little harsh on this match, like it was there. It was all right. The fans just seemed happy with it, so I'll give it a 2.
I'm going to go 2.25 actually, because I feel like as an opener, I feel like it achieved its purpose, and the crowd was certainly, this is an Attitude Era crowd, keep in mind, so they're going to be hot all night long. And basically, Dudley Boyz come in there, get the win, and the Dudley Boyz are perennial opening acts throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, as you've seen. It's a good one. That's what they want.
Up next is something very, very, very strange. So this match was made on Heat. It's supposed to be T&A, not TNA, T&A, which is Test and Albert, accompanied to the ring by Stratus, versus the Acolytes Protection Agency, APA, and the WWF champion, WWF Women's Champion.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Oh, that would be
Lita?
Fucking sick, man.
Yeah, Lita?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh my God.
That's the right answer.
2000 Trish Stratus was crazy. Oh my God. So this match was made in the APA's poker room. They get into it with TNA. Apparently, they were playing a game of poker with TNA, and TNA did not have any money left. So they decided to turn it into a strip game of poker.
Yep.
Trish Stratus starts taking her clothes off, but those dastardly heels, Tess and Albert, they don't want to give the people what they want, so they attack APA at the last second. Boom, there's your match. But Lita makes her way to the ring, and she's waiting for her tag partners, the APA. And the music is playing, but they're not coming out. Cut to the backstage area. Tess and Albert are beating the shit out of APA with Trish Stratus. And the minute we saw this, this match ain't happening. So you mean to tell me a match that was made on Heat prior to the show made it to the pay-per-view, and it doesn't even happen?
It's an angle.
So
it's an angle.
Yeah. So Lita gets scared because she knows what this entails. She runs to the back, but she is cut off by Tess, Albert, and Trish Stratus, who start to beat the hell out of her. But she is saved by the real team that should be tagging with her, the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt. Unfortunately, they could not. They weren't going to pull double duty in this match because they are the WWF Tag Team Champions.
Well, and they also saw that exact same match at Fully Loaded a few months prior, the Hardys and Lita against TNA and Trish. So
the Hardys
amazingly enough,
fight off TNA.
Amazingly enough, yeah.
Very, very, very weird. This was, this is something you do on Raw. You don't do it on pay-per-view. Imagine paying $40 just to see something that doesn't even happen. I don't know why this is here.
Jungle Boy Christian. What? I'm sorry. I just got
At least Christian was injured there.
Mm-hmm.
This was just there just to be there. This didn't further anything. If you're going to advertise the match, it's like this shouldn't even happen at all. It's like they really had nothing else to kill this time. And this went on for 5 minutes?
Yeah, Test and Albert would then become T and APA for a bit, just to mock the Acolytes, up until the Acolytes would return a couple months later at Armageddon. More deets on that in the Armageddon review, which we did a while back. But we also, can I talk about this Edge and Christian interview real quick that pops up?
Oh, absolutely, because it's a lot more entertaining.
It's
a lot more
so
entertaining than what we
funny. Edge and Christian are one of my favorite tag teams of all time for very good reason. So they're being interviewed by Lillian Garcia, and she basically asks them, how come that you weren't in the Dudley Boyz Invitational? And basically what it boils down to is that they were at the movie theater last night, and they got food poisoning, and Edge blames it on some bad nuts. And there's a whole bunch of you can see what kind of humor this is leading to. Edge is telling Lillian that, I can prove it. You want me to whip him out? And then he pulls out a bowl of peanuts, and Christian is making a bunch of comments about Edge's nuts there. And insert little jokes in there.
Settle well. So it's 2000 humor for you. It's exactly what Edge and Christian are known for. Funny little segment, and they say they are cheering on Conquistadores in their tag team title match later on with the Hardy Boys.
The Conquistadores, as JR continuously called them. He's not a Hispanic man by any stretch. Anyway, Rikishi is also shown outside the building in the parking lot trying to stalk Stone Cold Steve Austin with a patented sledgehammer, which leads into our next match, finally, Tomas, properly.
Up next, finally, something good. We got X-Pac and Chris Jericho in a steel cage match.
Indeed.
This is basically this is a grudge match. Pac and Jericho have been feuding for a long time. D-Generation X is pretty much no more at this point. Shawn Michaels has gone and injured. Triple H has started the Helms McMahon era with Stephanie. And I don't think were the Outlaws doing anything at this time.
Billy Gunn and Road Dogg had split up around this time, so the Outlaws were no more.
So DX is no more, but X-Pac is surely hanging on to DX. He is still doing the entrance. He still has a variation of the music. He is hanging on to DX as much as he can. Jericho comes out, and have you ever seen a heel, cut a promo, or anyone for that matter, cut a promo before a cage match?
Yeah. Jericho was a babyface, though, wasn't he?
Was he?
He totally was. Between him and X-Pac,
very hard to tell because that's the thing about DX. They were such dastardly heels, but the fans, they were too over with the fans. So it was very hard to tell. They really blurred those lines at times. But
fair enough.
Jericho comes out. I just feel like a cage match, the setting is so ominous. You got the music and the cage lowering. It's supposed to be the match to end all rivalries. And Jericho's out here and he's cutting a promo like he's not even worried. And he basically says, what did he call it? What did he call the cage?
See. He called it the Y to jail.
That's what made me. The minute he made that line, I'm like, oh, he is such a fucking heel. But he basically says he wants X-Pac out of his life. He doesn't want to see the DX chop anymore. He doesn't want to hear that stupid music anymore. He wants to put this rivalry to bed once and for all. X-Pac comes out, and I like this variation of the DX theme. X-Pac is
X-Pac always came out to
treasure.
It. Yeah.
X-Pac is a fucking national treasure. Seeing him on Raw this past Monday brought a smile to my face. He's another guy that's been through so many personal demons. He battled those personal demons. And it's nice to see him out there looking so healthy. Like, he looks good.
And this was a great cage match, too. This was really fun.
Yeah, he's so down to earth. And I feel like he's one of the only people in wrestling that isn't scared to speak his mind. He even went on as far as saying recently that, because somebody asked him, like, would you want to work for WWE, like in a backstage role? He said, hell no. He doesn't want anything to do with that. He said he would love to be a pre-show panelist. He would love to give his mind to the business, but he does not want to be shackled to anything like that. Now that Triple H is in charge, maybe that could change a little because I would love to see X-Pac as a producer. I think he was more like he would never want to work for Vince in that kind of role. And I'd like to see him as a pre-show panelist. I thought it was hilarious that he was a part of a live watch-along for Hell in a Cell 2019. And when we
how do you have a DQ in a freaking Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, he was just watching us going, what? That doesn't make any sense.
It's a good freaking question, man. It's a really good question.
X-Pac is a fucking national treasure. He name-dropped Chyna this past Monday on Raw, and that just warmed my heart so much. And so it was cool to see X-Pac this past Monday and then see him in his prime in this match. And he's another guy. What a missed opportunity. This guy could have been more.
He could have been a world champion easily. I'm fully on that train. But yeah, these two just went in there and had a very athletic match. And the weird thing about this cage match was that you could only win by escaping the cage. No pinfalls, no submissions. You can only escape this thing.
How do you feel about that?
So I don't know, man. I mean, it's certainly, it feels to me like that's a Just Bring It variation where you could only win the cage match by escape, and like you could pick, you can win by pinfall or submit. Like, it just feels like on this particular night they were like, you know what? We're going to have you escape the cage, so this is escape only. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like WWE has very rarely have they only switched over to this rule. I don't know how I feel about this. I always like having the option of both. But I remember like watching a JR interview recently, and he said that doesn't make any sense because it looks like two guys are just trying to run away from each other. And, you go back to the old WCW days with like Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race. Like, the cage matches are supposed to be bloodbaths, like a fight to the end, like the ultimate grudge match. And could you imagine Dusty and Harley trying to run away from each other in that match?
No, not at all.
So yeah, it's a very just interesting concept. I remember just recently at Extreme Rules 2017, I want to say, the Hardy Boys and the Bar had a cage match where they could only escape, and I thought it was weird there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like
and then
WWE is never gonna.
I love the idea of them, but like I don't think this was the case for this match, but I love the idea of WWE and Vince specifically booking a steel cage match where the idea is to escape, to keep both opponents in, where the idea is to escape. And then and then you have the announcer going, "This is a cage match. You can win by pinfall, submission, or by escaping." And then
or that tired ass concept where, oh, someone keeps interfering. Well, we're gonna make a cage match, so you can't interfere, and then the person ends up interfering anyway.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, you gotta do like an electrified cage match or something like that.
Yeah. And then you have the announcers going like, "There's nowhere for Chris Jericho to run." And I'm like,
exactly.
The bell rings, and the first fucking thing Jericho does is he runs. Like,
so Jericho and Pac did some dangerous shit in this match.
Yeah,
like,
the back body drop. You want to talk about that real quick?
Huge fucking back body drop. There's a point where they're on the cage, and Pac gets crotched across the steel beams of that cage, and that could not have been comfortable at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. X-Pac almost lands on his freaking neck and almost breaks it. There is also a very stiff steel chair shot because you have the gimmick where they're going for the door. You have the heel like dragging a steel chair in as the face is pulling them back in. X-Pac just waffles this poor guy right in the head. Jericho
walls of Jericho on top of the cage. I've never seen that
visual.
Before. And that,
loves that
Jericho
visual.
was holding on to that support cable for dear life, and oh my god, what a sight! What a freaking sight!
Oh yeah, Chris Jericho was getting very inventive with the walls of Jericho around this time. It was a few short months after this when he would challenge Chris Benoit for the IC title in a ladder match, and that had a very iconic walls of Jericho as well in its own right. This is a forgotten one right here on top of the steel cage.
It really is.
But yeah, to your point, X-Pac is climbing out. Chris Jericho goes for the door and completely crotches X-Pac on top of the door, which is not a comfortable landing at all. And Jericho scurries out the door and he wins the steel cage match, and X-Pac is just left dangling up there. They would replicate this finish. Yeah, 3.5 stars for me. I think these two work very well together. I think they're both great wrestlers. X-Pac is a hidden gem. You guys all know how great Chris Jericho is, current Ring of Honor world champion. But yeah, no, these two had really good chemistry. They worked off of each other well.
Yeah, like you were about to say, they recreated this very same finish in 2006 at Unforgiven between
was it
John
Unforgiven?
Morrison and Jeff Hardy.
Was it? It was either Unforgiven or it was New Year's Revolution, one of the two. But no, I couldn't. I can't remember off the top. But
it was Unforgiven because I remember that being the same night Cena beat Edge for the title in TLC.
We'll find out.
Oh my god, that's a really good point. I'm gonna you know what? You're probably right because if you are right. I think Unforgiven 06 was Jeff Hardy and Carlito. Actually,
was it really? Oh
God,
man,
I'm gonna have to look back at that. Or
we're gonna look it up. We're gonna look it up after this. We're gonna look it up after.
Yeah, because if I was right, that would be crazy. That means they would have had a cage match, a Hell in a Cell match, and a TLC match all in one night. Yeah, and I don't think WWE would ever do that.
Yeah, I think it was New Year's Revolution, dude. But I don't know. We'll find out after the show. But yeah, 3.5 star match. It's one of the stronger matches on this card, which is amazing thinking about it that way. But next up, WWF New York. Steve Blackman is there doing a martial arts demonstration. Not a martial arts kick. Martial arts kick. Martial arts. No, yeah, I'm not doing the Just Bring It impression right now. But
yeah, it's so crazy. When I first played Just Bring It, going through the roster and being like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? And who the fuck is this guy?" Because it was a 2001 roster, and I only knew the big names.
Yeah, more or less. I knew who these people were by playing SmackDown Just Bring It religiously growing up. But next up, it's interesting because it was supposed to be Eddie Guerrero defending the Intercontinental title against the one Billy Gunn on this show. Billy Gunn just returning from a separated shoulder that he received at No Way Out 2000, which we also reviewed earlier this year. Unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero injured his hamstring in a match on the Go Home Raw against Chris Jericho. So now Commissioner Foley has to come up with something on the fly. And now we have Billy Gunn and Chyna teaming up to take on Stevie Richards, White Sox himself, and Val Venis of Right to Censor. Talk about a random-ass match here. Like,
they're making this match. Foley is backstage in his office. His office is in the middle of the hallway, and this asshole is blocking the exit. He's got his desk. He's got all of his knickknacks all over the table.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody wants the building, you can go fuck yourself. That's Foley's office.
Oh, yeah. And also, Rikishi swings by Mick Foley's office, Commissioner Foley's office, and he asks him where Austin is. And Foley's like, Rikishi, you should get ready, because if I know Stone Cold, he's going to be here, and he's going to kick your ass, you know?
So, you're right. This was a very thrown-together match. You know, it's crazy looking at Billy Gunn and then how he's still relevant in wrestling today. I can't believe this guy has recreated magic. This guy has recreated magic twice.
My freaking word.
In the 90s, he was, you know, crotch chopping everybody. In the 2000s, he's scissoring everybody. It is crazy how life works sometimes.
I'll just go on record and say that that's a sentence I never thought I would hear my buddy say in the year 2022. But
you want to talk about crazy.
Yeah.
Chyna is crazy.
Glamazon Chyna.
Lord.
Man, Chyna was over.
Love Chyna.
Yeah. Chyna was
love her.
May she rest in peace. She was a pioneer. She really was. I'm sure she inspired a lot of little girls growing up.
Looking at this match and just not realizing how fucking over she was. She got the biggest pop out of anyone in this match. She comes out. What other wrestlers do you know that wield a pyro cannon? And just her whole entrance, her presentation, she was called the ninth wonder of the world for a reason. And as she's making her way to this ring and looking how awesome she looks, how over she is, how much they put her over on commentary. How did they not, in an era where anything was possible, how did they not put the WWF title on her?
Vince Russo was going to, man. The plan was Chyna versus Steve Austin at SummerSlam 99, and Chyna was going to go over. But then Vince Russo left the company, and it never happened, never materialized.
It should have happened. Out of all the crazy Russo takes I have ever seen, that is one where I'm like, it should have happened. It 100% should have happened because, you know, you just look at how popular she was and how over she was with the crowd and just like, oh my, you know, I said this while I was watching the show. Rhea Ripley is cool and all, but Chyna is my poppy. Oh my God, she is crazy.
And now Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley are recreating that magic today as part of the Judgment Day. But
I mean, awesome. And for a thrown together match, this was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it was there. I enjoyed it.
Billy Gunn starts off the match, and you could tell from right there they were just building to that hot tag to Chyna. And then a couple minutes in, she tags Chyna, and this place erupts. They want to see Chyna whoop everyone's ass.
They want to see her whoop Stevie Richards' ass, more specifically, as he was the leader of the RTC, and he was getting all the heat. There's a point where Billy Gunn hits a fame asser on Stevie Richards. Good father. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. It's the fame asser. That's what it is. That's how it's spelled.
Can you believe that Billy Gunn has been scissoring people since the 90s?
Oh my God, get out of here, you idiot. The Good Father and Bull Buchanan run down and run interference, and the one Billy Gunn runs down to ringside and fights them both off. In comes Eddie Guerrero, who apparently was not injured after all. He comes in with what looks like a bouquet of flowers and waffles Chyna right in the face with it. Val Venis covers Chyna and gets the pinfall. Turns out there was a lead pipe hidden in that bouquet of red roses, which would explain why Chyna was knocked out cold at that stage. So, it was a fun little match. I'm gonna go 2 stars, 2 1/4. RTC does get the victory after Stevie Richards guaranteed that they would beat Chyna and her rectally obsessed friend, Daddy S.
Yeah,
which
this is fun.
crazy.
I should give it 2.5 because I just think for a thrown together match, they worked it really well. Chyna was over as crazy, and I just think everything was worked pretty damn well in this match.
Oh, definitely, man. Real quick, let's talk about this Triple H backstage segment because he's in the dressing room getting ready for his match later on. His wife, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, comes in, asks him to be in his corner, said he wants to face Chris Benoit on his own.
And very innocently, very shyly, very bashfully. Do not let those dear eyes fool you. Stephanie McMahon is an evil witch.
She's my chairwoman. She's the chairwoman.
Do not let those doe eyes and those eyelashes fool you. She is, and I will talk about this later. But I know we've touched on this before, but absolutely. I will talk about this later.
Yeah. So Steph basically asks Triple H if she can be in Kurt Angle's corner. Even though it's advertised that Stephanie is going to be in Kurt Angle's corner. And Triple H basically says, listen, I'm cool with it as long as nothing happens to you at ringside. If anything does happen, Kurt Angle is done for good. For good. I want Kurt dead.
Listen, go take
tonight. I am the game. I'm working on it.
Triple H.
Yeah. I am the head of creative.
So we move on to basically the second biggest angle in this match. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Rikishi.
Hold on. This is the biggest angle on this card. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not for the WWF Championship, dude, but, like, what did you say at the beginning of this podcast? The nameplates had the tire screech in there. This was the big angle. Like, number one. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And there's where my issues start right away. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Rikishi in a no-holds-barred match. We've talked about it before. The big mystery was resolved. Who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin? It was Rikishi. Rikishi, no more dancing, no more messing around, no more slapping his ass cheeks. He is a bad man. He is fully turned heel, and he did it for The Rock.
He did it for The Rock. It's something like that.
Wrestling quote that has been memed to death. If we look back on it now, we laugh at it, but they show the hype package and they just show that Stone Cold Steve Austin wants to get his hands on Rikishi. We cut to the entrance for this match, and here we have a totally repackaged Rikishi. Brand new theme song, brand new ring attire.
Which is a bop, by the way. Can I just say for a second, Bad Man is such a great hidden gem of a theme song. I love that thing. I still listen to it to this day. It's so good.
You look at this presentation and the way Rikishi is just, not to be redundant, but being presented in this match, how do they not give this a chance? How do they not strap the rocket to this man?
So, can I address this now real quick? Here's my thing with this whole Rikishi reveal. Stone Cold Steve Austin getting run over, humongous whodunit. It took over pretty much a whole couple months of summer programming in the WWF at the time. Then it was revealed to be Rikishi, and people were looking at it like, huh? Like, the dude with the bum? Like, come on. That can't possibly be. So, the idea was, whoever was revealed to be the one behind attacking Austin, they were going to be propelled immediately up to his level. And I really appreciated the logic and the idea that the WWF had by trying to propel a mid-carder up to Austin's level, because Rikishi had been a mid-carder for a while at that point. So propelling him up to Austin's level, good idea and concept. But the way Rikishi had been presented before that, it just made the choice seem a little bit weak,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but you see the way just Rikishi went with this, and I'm watching this saying, why isn't this guy just murdering people? This guy should be the biggest. He should be the top heel in the company now. He's big. He hits hard. He should just be putting people in the hospital.
It's a monster.
And not to jump ahead, but they squandered. They squandered this entire thing, and it was dead from the start because
You know why? It's because people couldn't take Rikishi seriously with his still babyface ring attire. You know?
It's such a damn shame that they couldn't. Because you look at Rikishi on how he was here, you can tell where Jimmy and Jay got their fire. You can tell where Jimmy and Jay got their edge. They got it from their dad. And if they would have just ran with this heel gimmick, he could have been the biggest monster in the WWF. And with the proper booking, he could have been WWF champion.
He really could have.
That's the first reason why this didn't work. The second reason was you got Stone Cold Steve. Okay, by the way, Rikishi comes to the ring and he calls out Austin in a fantastic promo. I love the tone in his voice. I love the way he was calling him out. Foley comes out for whatever reason. And before Foley can even get out a word, I wonder why Foley even came out, because Austin's music hit. It's the Disturbed theme. It's fucking awesome. Austin makes his way down to the ring, and that's when you realize why right away. Austin, I don't think there's a term to describe more than white hot. He is hot as the sun. He is the hottest star in all of professional wrestling. And because of that, there was no way in hell. You saw it in the Attitude Era with The Rock, with Austin, with Taker. Unless it was with another main eventer, he wasn't going to lose. He was not going to lose. Not ever. Now, I don't like to play fantasy booker because I'm just a guy looking at my phone, talking about wrestling. I don't ever think that I would know how to book something better than $1 million company. But before we get into how this match went down, I think it would have been so fucking cool if Rikishi would have won. It would have been a valiant battle. They would have kicked the shit out of each other. Maybe Rikishi even kicks out of a stunner, but Rikishi just straight up just beats Austin down, like bonsai bombs him like 4 times. Doesn't even get the pin.
10
the ref
times.
Calls for the bell.
10
Austin
times.
Can't continue. And you just look at that and you just go, whoa. Rikishi just annihilated the biggest star in WWF.
Imagine the shock.
Then, you know, Austin gets taken out on a stretcher. And then a couple weeks later, I don't want to say Austin starts having like confidence issues, but he starts doubting himself a little. Like he's never had his ass whooped as hard as he did by Rikishi. And, you know, it would be a good retribution angle. This could have been this right here. And I know we got the Hell in a Cell. I know we got some cool shit. This could have been Austin's entire feud leading up to WrestleMania.
It really could have. Really could have. Could have ended inside Hell in a Cell with Rikishi. If the feud was that personal, you know?
And, you know, it would have made Rikishi a star. It would have given him a fresh coat of paint, and you would have had a new main event on your hands. But what happens here? Austin.
What happens?
Rikishi's ass.
All over the fucking Pepsi Arena, dude. Rikishi was beaten mercilessly. Fitting name for this pay-per-view, No Mercy.
This is like the most one-sided fight I have ever seen in my life. Like straight out from the gate, Austin just starts beating the fuck out of Rikishi. He's slamming him into the car. He slams the car door in his face.
Yeah.
Rikishi is able to get some offense there, but it's very lopsided.
Stone Cold beating him with his leather belt that he wore to ringside.
What the fuck? Also, so they're brawling in the crowd, and Rikishi gives Austin a back body drop onto concrete. How crazy is it?
Not smart.
The bump Austin took. The bump Austin took in 2022, 19 years after his final match, he took a harder bump from Kevin Owens, the same exact spot, than he did in 2000 when he was in his prime.
Well, because, first of all, that's freaking insane thinking about it that way.
Yeah.
But I think they also, Rikishi is a very safe worker to my knowledge, so he probably wanted to make sure Austin was as protected as possible, especially with his stack of necks for a dime, son.
So
he didn't want to
back body drop, and like Austin kind of just like slides off of his back and gently does, which is fine. Like, you know, I don't want him to kill himself, but then you go back to this year's WrestleMania and you just see Austin take a flat back body drop onto concrete from Kevin Owens.
Good.
That's fucking wild.
Good fuck, dude. Like I can't even fathom that.
So yeah, like you said, they start brawling out, and then Austin just takes his belt off. He starts whooping Rikishi's ass.
Yeah, literally and figuratively speaking, starts whooping Rikishi's ass with that leather belt. Rikishi starts bleeding somehow. He hits. Oh, it was 2 hard chair shots right to the skull. Rikishi comes up gushing blood, and then this is where the match kind of gets a little.
This is Vince trying to have his cake and eat it too, because they start brawling near the ramp area. They're back to the car. Austin's swinging the sledgehammer. Rikishi is running from Austin at this point, so all momentum is like dead in the water at this point. And then Austin puts Rikishi in the trunk and in the bed of his car. And the first thing I noticed, Austin gets in the truck and drives off. The first thing I noticed is one of his headlights is out, and that's such a fucking pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Driving on the road, and I see one of those.
That's probably why the police got him, don't you think?
So they drive to the outside area, and then Austin just randomly stops. He dumps Rikishi out of the bed of the truck. He props Rikishi up. He gets back in the truck. And he is going to kill this man.
He's going to fucking run him over and over and over and over and over again until he's left as nothing, decomposed on the floor. But before Austin can even hit Rikishi once, a police car suddenly comes into frame, freaking careens into this police car. And then the fuzz all comes in. The backup is here. Because Austin hit the police car, he gets fucking arrested. And a no-holds-barred match.
I think I try to interpret as maybe it was somebody called the police because they were scared what Austin was going to do to Rikishi, and they arrived just in the nick of time to stop Austin from doing that.
My freaking
word.
word.
You look at that, and you look at all of the shit Austin has pulled in WWF. This man should be serving a life sentence.
Yeah. No, you know who should be serving a life sentence in this context? Fucking Rikishi, because he openly admitted to running down Stone Cold, attempting murder, and then
they both attempted murder. Austin struck a police vehicle. How many times has Austin beat up the police? How many times has he tried to kill people?
Only in the WWE, ladies and gentlemen. Only in the WWE.
So this was Vince trying to have his cake and eat it too, because it addresses both of the issues we have with this feud. And again, they just turned Rikishi heel. They're trying something with him. They're not going to pin him on night 1, but they sure whooped his ass on night 1. And Austin, they would never dream of pinning him. Never. Not clean.
No.
The most protected star in the company.
And
it's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched this match when the network first came out, and I remember being pretty good. Watching it again, I don't know. It was a cool brawl. I'm sure it was fun for the audience, but
fun sequence of violence, yeah.
Very weird booking, very stiff shots from both guys. Like, I'm not gonna discredit the work and all, but I don't know. I feel like this was, again, more of an angle and less than a match.
Yeah, props to Rikishi as well.
You know what it should have been? It should have been a confrontation. It shouldn't have been a match.
You know what? You know what this was? It was as if The Undertaker and DDP at King of the Ring 01 was actually sanctioned. You know?
Yeah.
Because that was a one-sided beatdown and a burial as well. Not to say Rikishi was completely buried from this. He would go on to have a match with The Rock at Survivor Series the next month, but
let's just say the heel turn was very short-lived, and he was right back to dancing and juking and jiving like by WrestleMania. So this was a failed experiment that I really wish wouldn't happen.
God, that sounds like something Vince McMahon at 77 years old would have done. But anyway, I'm going to go with 2.5 on this, just because there was no definitive finish to a no-holds-barred match, which really, honestly, like, it doesn't matter if these two attempt murder in this context. It's no-holds-barred, so anything goes, you know? It's unless the police gets involved and they arrest Stone Cold, then I guess there are some holds that are barred, you know? It's
apparently, so
weird.
Yeah, this was wild, and I do appreciate what they did in the match. It's just like, yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Vince. That was a very, very strange booking decision.
Did in kayfabe though, does Steve Austin actually serve jail time for careening a police car multiple times?
That's a very good question. I feel like even if he did, he would have broke out of prison the next night.
I just had a random, that was just such a random thought that came into my mind just now. Like, even watching this show afterwards, like, that was something I was thinking about. I was like, did fucking Stone Cold actually serve jail time after No Mercy? Like, just,
you know what? That is something I could see, like, Jon Moxley doing today. Totally getting arrested and then breaking out of prison the next night. or the next week on Dynamite. I would love to see. And did he? No, he didn't do it in WWE. I would love to see Moxley like get arrested on an episode of Dynamite, and then the very next week he pulls up to the arena in the same cop car that arrested him.
Oh, that would have been fun. That would have been really, really fun. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun sequence of violence where Rikishi took like 7 or 8 unprotected chair shots to the head, so no wonder he's fucking bleeding everywhere. So mad props to him for taking that beating. But up next, it looks like we have the Conquistadores going for the tag titles.
No. You're not getting away with this. You're not getting away with this.
What?
There was a match before this. There was a match before this.
Though? Do we really?
We do. We gotta be. Yes, we do.
Fuck. So William Regal comes down to the ring. He says he's facing Dennis Knight, otherwise known as Mideon. And he's basically like, I demand that Mideon wrestles in proper ring attire, which I'm sure all of you Hicks in Albany would love to see. Him
and why does Mideon have to wrestle in proper attire?
I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to refer to him as Mideon. It's like referring to him as Bronson Steiner, you know?
So Mideon's gimmick at the time was...
He was naked. A streaker. Mideon. He was a streaker. That's what he was.
Yeah.
Like, he comes out to the ring wearing an Undertaker American Badass t-shirt, which you could probably find on WWF Shop, which I'm sure he loved shouting out his fellow BSK brother there.
Also, what does that say when you're so not over that you have to wear someone else's attire to the ring? That's like,
this is
to a mid-2000 WWE guy. They have no merch, so they have to wear the pay-per-view shirt.
Good lord, dude. Like, at least...
Tommy Dreamer.
Ooh, fucking chill. Chill.
So Regal and Mideon have a match.
They have a terrible match is what they have.
Regal tried his best.
By Regal standard, he certainly tried. But this is not Mideon in the Ministry of Darkness at all.
No.
You know?
So they have a match, and let's just get it out of the way. Mideon rips his pants off, and there's a big censor on it. Obviously, the guy was probably wearing a thong. Obviously, he's not going to really be naked on the show, but...
No.
And then Regal's able to get him down, and he tries to go for the Regal stretch. He realizes
that part was funny.
Apply the Regal stretch.
That part was funny.
A man's bare ass. So he decides to go for his other finisher, which is a kind of a... I really like this move. It's kind of a... He kind of twists the arms, and he twists your arms up, and he turns it into a neck breaker. So this was pre-knee trembler.
Yeah.
And so Regal is able to sloppily pull off the neck breaker, and Regal is able to escape this match. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank God he was able to escape this match and have better ones.
I would love to give this match a star for Regal, but there's a million other Regal matches I could watch that are far better. This gets 0 stars.
Minus infinite stars. I fucking hated this. Like, I do not want to see this fucking Mideon gimmick ever again. Thankfully, I would not. I despise this match so much. Regal deserved way better than this. And I mean, bless his heart for trying to like make this somewhat entertaining. His reactions were kind of funny, but the naked Mideon gimmick was not funny at all. I freaking hated it. And I hated even more the Confederate flag tattoo on Dennis Knight. So
was a product of its time. You know, it was all about the shock value. It was all about the shock humor. Very, very, very off topic. But on Peacock right now, they just started a series about Barney the dinosaur and how...
What?
Yes, they just started a documentary series on Barney the dinosaur. It's called I Love You, You Hate Me. And it's about how Barney was created. And then for some reason, there was a cult that hated Barney and wanted to destroy Barney. And they are going into the depths of it. And in that documentary, they talked about how Barney was created at a time in the 90s where it was all about the angst. It was all about the shock TV and the crude humor. And there actually is a for a brief second, there was a flash of Stone Cold Steve Austin giving the finger because that was WWF was all about. It was all about the Jerry Springer and the, you know, the nudity and the violence and the, you know, oh my God, they're doing that shit on TV. Very good documentary, by the way. It's only one episode. It's one episode in, and there's going to be more, but I am totally hooked. But that's the only reason why I wanted to bring it up. Because, yeah, I just feel like that's why they did this gimmick. They just realized, oh my God, a naked guy on TV.
No, what? You know why they did this gimmick? You know why they did this gimmick? It's because a fucking weirdo, Vince McMahon, thought it was funny. You know, that's the only reason why this gimmick existed. And Vince McMahon's humor is
because you look at something like this and you see, oh my God, a naked man on TV in the blur. It's like, again, it was a very weird time, late 90s, early 2000s. That was going to make people tune in. It's like what they did with Brian Kendrick in 03 with that infamous commercial on UPN with the streaker at the soccer game. You saw that, and as a kid, I go, what the fuck? Is that guy really naked? It's just, It was a very, very, very weird time in our history, and a time I hope we never go back to.
We better not go back to it ever again. As the saying goes, fuck this match and fuck this character even more. Anyway, you can skip it. You can skip it, is all I can say. Now we can get to the Conquistadores.
Yes.
Thank God.
So, so as I recovered from that mentally, it's the tag team titles are on the line. It's Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, the Hardy Boys, defending their titles against not Christian and Edge. I mean, Los Conquistadores.
It's totally Christian and Edge.
And Conquistador Uno. What are you talking about? This is a world famous tag team from Mexico who has made their way to the WWF, and they are challenging the Hardys for their tag team titles.
So why do they have long blonde hair?
And it does not matter that they have the same stature as Edge and Christian. It does not matter that it's coincidental that Edge and Christian are backstage. It does not.
Does it matter that Uno has the same exact gait as one Adam Copeland?
No, and it does not matter that they sound like them. It does not matter that Edge and Christian are doing very distasteful impersonations of Spanish people.
Of Conquistadors.
Yeah, this is not Edge and Christian. This is Dos and Uno, very original names. It's not Edge and Christian. So stop saying it is.
I mean,
this was a fine match.
It wasn't the Hardy Boys' best match with Edge and Christian, I'll say that much, but
it's not Edge and Christian. Why do you keep saying that? It's so
It
random.
Totally is. These are the same two teams. These are the same two teams that revolutionized tag team wrestling with a ladder match at No Mercy 1999. And now here's Edge and Christian wrestling in masks, pretending they're luchadors.
Such a coincidence. And it's super, very, very coincidental that Conquistador Dos wins the match with the Unprettier. That is very coincidental. It has nothing to do with this. It's not Edge and Christian.
Christian hits the kill switch on Matt Hardy and pins him. You know, that's
And right before that, I think Jeff and Matt for some reason have this weird suspicion that these guys are not who they say they are. So Matt goes to pull off the mask, and this guy came prepared because he's wearing another mask.
Oh yeah, because he knows that he does not want his face exposed because it's actually illegal to unmask someone if it's lucha libre. You get disqualified if you end up doing that. But this guy ended up coming prepared, and we don't see that it's Christian, but hits the kill switch anyway, and they win the tag titles, and miraculously, Edge and Christian are the tag team champions the next night. How do you think that happened? How do you think that happened?
And here's the thing. In the next backstage segment, Edge and Christian are celebrating with Los Conquistadores. So it's not them. And
that's they like said saying Elias is not Ezekiel.
It's not. They're brothers. And Edge and Christian say, we went to the supermarket and we got us champagne and we got you guys Coronas. And I'm just like, that's fucking racist.
You know, it's only fitting that I'm wearing a Kevin Owens t-shirt right now talking about this match, but I'm gonna go with 2 1/4, maybe 2 1/2 on this one. It's not.
I'll say 2 1/4. It was a match. A lot of these matches on the show, they're just matches. That's the Attitude Era undercard for you.
Aside from the steel cage match, there hasn't really been like a really good match on this card that you need to go out of your way to see. You know, even Stone Cold and Rikishi, even though that's a fun beatdown, you know, that's. Not really a whole lot to sink your teeth into. Until you get to the next match. Thank Christ, here we are. Triple H is going one-on-one with Chris Benoit. Triple H lost a number 1 contenders match on Raw, and Chris Benoit actually cost him that contendership spot. So that's how we're here. Simplicity. And Triple H, very rare sight here, as I alluded to. He's a babyface in this match. This crowd is so into Triple H and everything he's doing. It was so bizarre.
The My Time theme?
Pardon?
How do you feel about the My Time theme?
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Took a while, but it's finally growing on me.
I told you for months and months now that theme is just incredible. The same DX band guy sings that song, by the way. Fun fact.
It's not the game. Okay, it's not the game. Just like how Disturbed is not the Glass Shatter, but it's still good, and it was good for the time.
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic. Fantastic. And this match was actually fantastic. I think it's tied for match of the night for me.
You take a guy, regardless of how you feel about him personally, and personally I, despise him. You take a wrestler like Chris Benoit, and you put him in the ring with a ring general like Triple H that just knows how to command his way around the ring. He knows how to tell the story. He knows how to work the body parts. And these guys, again, they're like peanut butter and jelly. This was such a good match. And just how cohesive it was and how they worked through all the spots and how they just, this match flowed very well with
the
Triple H working on Benoit's knee.
Yeah,
the entire match.
The Indian knee breaker that Triple H was putting on him was a great move.
The way Triple H works a body part. Like, take the knee, for instance. He will drag his opponent to the ropes, and then he will, elevate himself off the ropes, and then he will just come down with his full tailbone, just pushing against the knee, full force. And I always loved how he did that. I loved how he put the knee against the rope and then dropped his own knee on there. Triple H doesn't get enough credit for his submission game because he knew how to work a body part.
He really did
so well in this match.
The cerebral assassin. They don't call him that for nothing. They don't call him that for show. Benoit was also working I believe he was working the shoulder in this. Yeah, he was hitting the armbar takedowns and Northern Light. Beautiful Northern Light suplex. Say what you want now about Chris Benoit. I personally don't respect the man at all anymore, but that man knew how to hit a suplex, whether it be Northern Lights, whether it be German suplex. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing between those ropes. Benoit had the crippler crossface on this lad for so long. Triple H was struggling mightily. But then, this is where Stephanie comes down. And she gets in Benoit's business. She distracts him a bit, slaps him with the referee distracted, and then Hunter hits one pedigree and pins Chris Benoit in 19 minutes.
Excellent match.
It was great, 4 stars. But Benoit had 2 dusty finishes reversed on him. At Fully Loaded and at Unforgiven. He thought he had won the Big Eagle, Big Cookie WWF Championship, and the decision was reversed for some ungodly reason. Couldn't you have thrown him a bone and given him a victory? At this point, I
feel like if they were furthering the storyline between Triple H and Stephanie, kind of there was no trust. Because you could tell in that backstage, there was a little bit of resentment that Stephanie has been working with Kurt Angle. I feel like a miscommunication could have been here. Stephanie accidentally slaps Triple H instead.
She accidentally causes Hunter to lose. However you want to do it. But, this is exactly proving your point from earlier. Unless you were an established star like Austin, Rock, Taker, Triple H, now you can put in that conversation. Chances are, if you were facing off against them in the Attitude Era, if you were an up-and-coming star like a Jericho, a Benoit, an Eddie, an Angle, you were probably losing more often than not.
You mean like what they do in AEW today?
Yeah. I'm sure that pissed off a lot of AEW marks. Man, oh man. Tomas does not get
This match was excellent, and I get the finish a little I get what you mean there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And before we get to the main event, we have a hilarious interview between Kurt Angle and The Rock. JR is just, he is so upset about this.
Oh, Kurt and The Rock's interview.
Yeah, and basically it's Kurt Angle interviewing The Rock, and he basically just splices another interview that The Rock had, and Kurt Angle uses that to his advantage, and he
Hold on, you're missing the point. It's not just one interview. It's like 3 or 4 different Rock interviews, and he's just taking various clips from those interviews and just like editing them on a whim and just to his heart's desire. It's just so funny.
Angle can say things like, "Oh, so you admit that you did run over Triple H," or like, or, "Oh, I hit you with the most devastating move in professional wrestling, the Olympic Slam. How are you feeling after that?" Well, after the injuries I've sustained from that move, like just trying to make The Rock look terrible. And so The Rock is watching this interview, and he turns off the TV, and there's an audio glitch because he turns off the TV and the interview is still going, and then 3 seconds later it stops. Like, they did not sync that shit up at all.
So funny. But it does get to our main event, of course. Kurt Angle challenging for the WWF title here, Tomas.
He is, yes, challenging The Rock for the WWF Championship. And as Angle was making his way to the ring, it is announced that this match is no disqualification. Mm-hmm. And that just brings up a whole bunch of shit.
Mm-hmm. This is important.
This is Angle's first shot at the WWF Championship?
Number two. He was in the triple threat match at SummerSlam, but this is his first one-on-one shot at the WWF title.
And Angle, this is basically capping off the greatest rookie year I could ever think of in a wrestler's career. Mm-hmm. He, has won the Intercontinental title. He won the European title. At the same time, turned it into the
Eurocontinental title.
Eurocontinental title, yeah. So he has done so much in this 1 year he's been in WWF, and now he is challenging one-on-one for the biggest prize. The Rock hits the ring, and this is your typical Attitude Era main event. There's a lot of brawling, and I feel like that's why they made no disqualification. They made it no disqualification so they can get away with brawling in the crowd and then brawling up on the ramp. And I saw inklings of this in the match as it was going, but as it went on, it didn't make any sense. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. There is a spot where Angle distracts the referee, and Stephanie slaps The Rock on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
It's no disqualification. Why do you have to distract the ref?
Well, I mean, you got to get those spots in, brother. And the referee, of course, is distracted again as Stephanie throws the WWF Championship into the ring. And Steph is distracting Earl Hebner as Kurt hits The Rock with the title. You don't need to distract Earl Hebner for that.
Oh, so this whole no disqualification thing is so inconsistent. It's like a WCW match. But the point I wanted to get into that I made earlier that I alluded to is that Angle is getting the heat on Rock, and he's doing the spot where he's basically pressing his boot against The Rock's throat in the corner, and Stephanie is just screaming, "Choke him! Choke him! Choke him, Kurt!" And I'm just like, again.
She was so annoying back then, wasn't she?
All of you young people out there that have not watched the Attitude Era, if you thought Stephanie was annoying in 2014, you don't know anything.
Nope.
You don't know anything unless you watch Stephanie in the late 90s.
Especially during the invasion angle.
So shrill. So annoying.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You just wanted to see her get punched in the face.
No,
so
okay, when she was first introduced in 1999, when she was Test's fiance, like, I could stomach Stephanie McMahon, I wasn't watching WWF around that time. I started watching in 2002, but I actually went back and saw a lot of that, and I didn't mind Stephanie around that point. But it's around the point where you get here, and especially into the invasion angle, where Stephanie just gets insufferable. And she's great at making you feel that, but, like, my word, it was
so. When you see what happens later in this match, you get your satisfaction. Like you said, the ref gets distracted for the belt shot, and I'm just like, why? Why?
Oh, goodness.
There's no disqualification. It's like, I feel like if they really wanted, I'm not going to wrap my head around it because it gets even worse.
There's of course, there's some Attitude Era. There's some Attitude Era brawling as well. That's probably also why this no DQ stipulation was attached, so that Earl Hebner wasn't counting them out.
I don't even hate this match. Like, Angle and Rock got all their typical stuff in.
Oh, I thought it was great.
Really well.
I thought it was great.
Rock and Angle clicked well. Like, it's a shame we didn't see them wrestle more.
Yeah, so it's this match and their match at No Way Out 2001 where The Rock would regain the title back before WrestleMania 17 that are the two well-known Rock and Angle matches. But they clicked really well. It was a great sequence where The Rock had Kurt and the sharpshooter. Stephanie distracted Earl Hebner, and Kurt was tapping out to the sharpshooter, of course. And then Rock is chasing Stephanie around, and Angle catches him with a beautiful belly to belly. The Rock is 265 pounds as well. So the fact that Kurt can just throw him around with the greatest of ease is just indicative of Kurt being. He really is. He really is. Getting back to the title belt shot, Rock is clobbered with it, and Angle gets a great near fall there. There was some really good, really great drama in this match throughout. But then we get to The Rock wanting a people's elbow, and then poor little Stephanie McMahon gets in the ring, and she starts trash-talking The Rock before he takes off the elbow pad. And Rock just decides, you know what? I'm going to hit the rock bottom on you.
And like I said, instant gratification, satisfaction, guaranteed. Like, if you were just, oh my God, you wanted to, if your eardrums were bleeding over Stephanie's shrill voice throughout this match, you saw it. She got the rock bottom, and she is dead.
Different times, ladies and gentlemen, different times. She
is dead.
So Angle interrupts the people's elbow attempt on Stephanie McMahon, and then we get a very angry Triple H running down to the ring, and he is just beating the crap out of Kurt Angle. He knocks him out, pedigrees The Rock before leaving, takes Stephanie to the back, and then Kurt almost takes advantage. Again, great drama there. And then we get Rikishi interference. This is where you had your issue,
oh my God. So Rikishi, after getting his ass whooped by Austin, makes his way down to the ring. He's all bandaged up.
He saunters down to the ring. He's not even really selling it, aside from that little bandage covering up the blood. He is just the most pompous ass walking down the aisle.
So he makes his way into the ring, and he wants to give Angle that running like back elbow where he runs into the corner and just like turns around and like just basically backs up his entire body. He does that, but he accidentally hits The Rock. Mm-hmm. And then he turns around and goes, damn it. Like, he's mad at himself. So he's like, okay, we're going to try this again. He goes for a super kick. Angle ducks. He hits The Rock
a couple of times.
He turns around again. Damn it. And
he really wants to help The Rock.
The biggest fucking dweeb on the planet.
Yeah. The guy who you just said should have given him a chance. Be the WWF champion himself. Like, doesn't The Rock owe him one? Like,
ruined on night one.
Man, dude. But yeah, that does lead to Angle hitting a very impressive Olympic slam on Rikishi, leading to the Olympic slam on The Rock after all of that Rikishi nonsense. Kurt Angle pins The Rock to win the WWF championship, man. And Angle, for God's sakes, he has tears in his eyes. He's won the WWF championship for the first time in his career. A great rookie year. What a way to cap it off here. And this would not be the end of the Rock and Rikishi family drama. Almost felt like Kurt was a third wheel towards this latter part of the match.
He took advantage of what was going on, and he, again, captured his first WWF championship.
Absolutely did.
Capping off an excellent rookie year. As much as I like this match. I just felt it was super overbooked at times. I'll still give it 3 3/4, though.
I'm going 4. I think I like the wrestling too much. And I like Rock and Angle too much. They're like two of my favorites.
If it wasn't for the inconsistencies and just the overbooking and then making Rikishi look like a fucking loser, I probably would have said 4 too. But
I will tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'll do you one better. I actually prefer this match over the match at No Way Out where The Rock regains the title, which is another topic we may talk about. And you want to know why, Tomas? 2 reasons. 1, the interference in this match actually makes sense. Because if you remember the No Way Out match, the fucking large performance, the Big Show walks out there for no fucking reason and chokeslams both guys, chokeslams the referee, and then he just leaves. What the fuck? Big Show had no business in that match.
If I had $1 for every time the Big Show has came out during a pay-per-view WWE Championship match, choke slammed everyone and left, I would have $2, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Oh, I fucking love it, dude. Yeah, and number 2, there's not a botched kick out at the end. You know, Kurt
Fair.
was, yeah. So, anyhow, dude, really enjoyed this main event. This pay-per-view, very up and down.
I think I would give it a 6.75.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7, even though there's a match I fucking hate on this card. I mean, there's enough goodness towards the end that I feel like, you know what, I'll bump it up a little bit. And plus the Attitude Era feel, there's a fun steel cage match on this card, but certainly not the strongest pay-per-view and what I consider the WWE's top caliber year in terms of big live events in 2000.
Well, of course, because this year had a last man standing match that you liked, and that is very rare.
And Fully Loaded 2000 might be another topic for another time here on the ZNT
We have been
Wrestling
dying
Show.
to review that show, so please do us a favor.
We might fuck it. We might as well just throw that on the docket, huh? But yeah, stay tuned for more ZNT Wrestling Show installments. We have Judgment Day 2004 lined up next. Continuing the 2004 retrospective.
And don't worry, we may not be doing Crown Jewel, but we have AEW Full Gear, and we have Survivor Series that is still happening. We get 2 pay-per-views this month, so
we sure do.
If you don't feel like watching it, we're not reviewing it, but I still got to see what happens on Crown Jewel, so I will be checking it out.
And thank you to everybody who participated in this audience poll. I'm happy to tell you that we will be doing another one in the build-up to Survivor Series. There's going to be some retro War Games pay-per-views on there, so that should be a fun time. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Yeah.
We haven't watched a WCW show on this, so it's probably going to be a first time.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun, dude. But smash that subscribe button if you're new. Hit that notification bell, all that jazz. Thumbs up. That would be a humongous favor, my friends. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.